Hey friends, Trailblazer Tim here. It's Christmas morning. It's a crisp 43 degrees and we're up here in the RV. The coldest Christmas in 20 years down here in Florida. I love it. Today you're going to see me attempt for the first time to make homemade Italian sausage links. Okay, so before we get started, there's a few questions we need to ask ourselves. First, what kind of sausage are we making? Like I said, we're going to be making homemade Italian sausage. We need to know what kind of meat's going to work for us, what kind of seasonings are going to work for us, as well as what kind of casings we're going to stuff that sausage in. Now, like I said, this is the first time of me attempting to make homemade sausage, so please be gentle on me in the comments. Now, a couple days ago, I stopped in at my local favorite butcher and asked for a 5-pound pork shoulder butt. He says, buddy, I'm sorry. It's the holidays, they're all sold out. So I ended up leaving and going across town and found a local retailer that processes their own meat. And I found myself an 8-pound pork shoulder butt. The only problem is didn't have any that was boneless. So this one has a bone in. We'll work around it, process it, and do the best we can. Now, I've watched countless amount of these videos of people making this homemade sausage and such, and they all seem to have these giant kitchens and lots of countertop room and stuff like that with big equipment. Remember, we're doing this all inside of a 24-foot travel trailer. Very important. Anytime you're working around raw meats and you're processing it and stuff, make sure to have a supply of disposable nitrile gloves. Yeah, you don't want to get that stuff all up in your fingernails and stuff and your hands get all messy and all that garbage. Not to mention the fact wearing gloves helps preserve the meat to a temperature. We'll talk about that in a bit. And you're able to clean up things much better and move on with your project more efficiently. Let's go ahead and get started by processing our meat. Let's go ahead and get this bad boy open. Alright, so we're going to take this pork shoulder. You can see, like I showed you, right there is a bone that's got to come out. We'll flip this over to the fat side. We're going to try to trim this down with a nice sharp knife. Just get this set so I have pieces we can work with. Oh yeah, that's like a piece of fat back. Ooh, look at the layers of fat in that guy. Beautiful, beautiful thing. Alright, so we successfully have cut up our piece of pork shoulder. Got it all cubed up in about 2x2 inch pieces and stuff. We're going to throw a lid over top of this and into the freezer for a couple hours. Important little tip when you're processing, especially pork and stuff. See that membrane kind of stuff? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you don't want inside your sausage. It's not really fat, but it's that membrane, you know, kind of that forms on the back of the ribs, spare ribs, and all that good stuff. So now that our pork has been cubed up and stuff, it's in the freezer. Reason why being is you want to try to maintain the lowest amount of temperature with your meat and your equipment during this whole process of sausage making. Okay, so a couple hours have gone by since we put our meat up into the freezer, as well as our attachments to our grinder in the refrigerator to keep everything as cold as possible at all times to make this process work. Alright, now that we've got our attachments out of the refrigerator, I've got them set on a paper plate. What it calls for is to usually use some cooking spray to put on these attachments. In this case, I don't have any. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to oil up a paper towel and we're going to wipe everything down really good with some oil on here to prevent all that fat stuff from sticking inside of the mechanism. Now that we have our attachments put together here in our grinder, and they've all been chilled in the refrigerator, as well as oiled up, and I have the windows open in the RV to maintain a 45-degree temperature. It is chilly up in here, but that's what we want. And we're going to start with the coarse plate to start grinding with. So what we're going to do is make up two different batches of sausage. One is going to be hot Italian sausage. The other one is going to be a sweet, mild Italian sausage. First and foremost, we're going to get the meat inside the hopper and grind it up with a coarse plate first, all together. And then we're going to cut it in half, and we'll show you how to do the seasonings from there. All right, here we go. Let's start by getting some of that meat up in the hopper. And all that pork we cut earlier. Nice. That's what we're going to start with. We don't want to overload anything at all. Guys, see that? All that meat's up there in that hopper. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and turn this machine on and get going. Quick tip with these grinders, never dry run them because they will heat up and start burning gears up, plus ruin your meat and stuff like that. So we're going to start by stuffing a little bit of meat down inside the chute, just like that. I don't know if you can see it or not. Not too much, just enough so it's sitting there in place. And we're going to go ahead and turn this guy on. Here she comes. Okay, right off the gates, I'm learning that this is a patience game. I've never done this before. And to make sure that you have the weight of the meat inside of the chute, and don't overpress that hopper too much, because you heard that machine bog down just a little bit. And like I did in the review of this grinder last week, the gears are made out of plastic, okay, so that's what a lot of people complained about. But I guess it must be because most people that ran this machine tried to force the meat down too hard, bogged it out, broke the gears and all that other stuff. We're not going to do that. This is about taking our time, making sure everything works out the proper way. On with the sausage. So we processed about half of our pork right now, all right, and we're going to put that one aside, bring a new little bin in. We're going to process the rest, and I'll get back to you once that's done. Wow, would you look at that? Got two identically sized bins of first coarsely ground pork. This is our two batches. One is going to be the hot Italian sausage. The other one's going to be a sweet, mild Italian sausage. At this point, we need to season them. Now at this point in the game, the seasoning is going to be completely up to you. But however, classic Italian sausage usually consists of seasonings such as fennel, salt, black pepper, sometimes some mustard powder and all that other good stuff. In this case, we're using what's called Legs Custom Blended Seasoning. All right, found from my local butcher. They don't sell these on the store shelves anywhere. You can always go check this out at www.acleg.com to order some of this stuff online. Now, I'm not here to bore you with mathematics and details and stuff, but I did the math, and with the contents of what's in one of these bags is exactly 8 ounces, and that means it's a cup. I did a little bit of math. Each one of these basins here weigh about 3.7 pounds, which equates to right around a quarter of a cup of seasoning. Now, I don't have a mixer, so our fingers are going to be the mixer. Got a quarter cup of our hot Italian sausage seasoning. It looks like it's got some red pepper flakes in there. We're going to go ahead and we're going to dump in about half of that. Heck, we'll just go ahead and put it all in there. And let's get mixing. Mix it up real good. Now we've ran the first time through on the coarse grate with our sausage, and we seasoned up the hot sausage. I've covered it up, and it's going back into the freezer. Now on to our mild Italian sausage. Remember I said it was going to be a sweet, mild Italian sausage. The sweet is going to come in a little while, and I'll show you what my secret is. A lot different color there. Oh yeah, it doesn't have that red in there like that crushed red pepper stuff. We're going to mix all this back together and stuff really good, and cover it up and throw it in the freezer again along with the other stuff. Now that we got our pork all ground up for the first time through the coarse plate, through the grinder, seasoned, covered up and put back in the freezer, bring up the temperature again, now's the time to remove the attachments from your grinder and clean them with hot soapy water, dry them off, and then put them in the refrigerator so everything comes back up to temperature. So now we're waiting on our meat to drop back down to desired temperatures. It's time for us to take a second and talk a little bit about the sausage casings. There's a lot of different kind of casings out there that people use when making sausages and stuff like that. Generally speaking, the three sizes usually come with sheep casing, hog casing and beef casing. Sheep casing is usually generally used for making breakfast sausages because it's a smaller diameter. Hog casing, which we'll be using today for Italian sausage, bratwurst, kielbasa, stuff like that, as well as beef casings, generally used when making summer sausages. What's called collagen casings, which is non-animal casings, and they just don't seem to give the same kind of snap to that sausage that you like when you bite into it. Now in today's sausage making experiment, we're going to be using what's called PS seasoning and spices, hog casings, and salt. What we need to do is get these out of the bag and place them in warm water and get that salt to soak off there. If not, you're going to have way too salty a sausage. So now you got your casings soaking in warm water. You want them to sit there for around 20 or 30 minutes. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to dump that water out, kind of rinse them out, and fill it back up with some more warm water for about another 20-30 minutes to get rid of all that salt that preserves these things. So a lot of folks out there that make their own homemade sausage, they invest in some expensive machines and stuff. What they'll do is they'll run their meat through the grinder through the coarse plate first, season it, then run it back through the second time on a fine plate. And at that time, they'll take and run it through what's called a sausage stuffer, which usually isn't electric. It's something that you just crank down through, it pushes, and it squeezes it out into casings. All right, so we're almost ready to start stuffing our sausage. First, before we do that, we're going to take 2 little silver dollar size samples of our meat. We're going to fry them up on a pan, and we're going to taste them, because if they need a little bit more flavoring to them, now's the time to do it. All right, so we've got our 2 little samples. One is of the hot Italian sausage, and one is of the mild Italian sausage. Let's go ahead and see how that tastes before we decide to get into casing the stuff. Oh my goodness, that is really, really good. Wow. And it's got just a little bit of a snap to it. That hot, like crushed red pepper. Let's try the mild Italian sausage now. Oh my goodness. I'm not changing a thing. Our mild Italian sausage. Now the sweet that we're going to add to it is a package of maple bacon. Cut up, ready to go. We're going to mix that up with the mild Italian sausage, run it through with a fine coarse deal. That's what's going to add that sweet. We're not going to add any more flavorings to it because you know bacon has salt in it, and the sweetness we're going to get is going to be from the maple that comes with the bacon. All right, so the process of grinding it up is over. The hot Italian sausage here, we added maple flavored bacon to make this into a sweet mild sausage. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cover the stuff up, put it back in the freezer to keep it cool and keep the temperatures down while we clean our equipment back up and get it ready to stuff some sausages. Now is when we get to stuff the sausage. I've been really nervous about this. I've heard some horror stories of blowouts, all that other good stuff. Let's go ahead and add our attachments onto our grinder and get started. Now the 2 die plates we used, the coarse and the fine, no longer necessary. We still have our little wheel inside of here. Our next step is to take our little plastic attachment that's got the 2 notches in it, slide it into place right where it goes so it clicks into spot. Take our attachment, slide it through the retention nut like so, and screw that into place. Yeah. So before we get started, I have a cookie sheet that's sitting here. I'm going to take a little bit of ice cold water, not much, just enough so the sausage doesn't slide around. We're going to throw a couple ice cubes in there. We want to keep this whole thing as cold as possible. We're going to start with our hot Italian sausage. We're going to add a little bit of water, not a lot, just enough to make sure that that fat in that meat is emulsified. We're going to mix it up one more time with our hands, and then we're going to set our casings into place and see what happens. Now we have our hog casings that have been soaking in warm water, and I rinsed them and soaked them again. They are ready to go. Now these things are very, very stretchy. Okay, so what we need to do is look for an end and an opening and get that set to go to slide it onto the attachment to the grinder. Wow, that's a long casing. Holy cow, just never ends. I got an end that's open. We're going to try to mount it on the end of this attachment. Try is the operative word. Ooh, we got it. I'm going to slowly work that casing up. And slide that baby up on there all the way till you get about an inch or less slid on there. Something close to that. Oh God, wish me luck.
Let's do it.
Oh, look at that. My first batch. I had one little tiny blowout. At this point, you're going to take the end that you started with and you try to tie just a simple little knot, easier said than done, and tie that end off. Now I got the end tied off over here. I'm going to take about 6 inches. We're just going to twist it one direction, kind of like that, away from me. Yeah. I'm going to take the second one, do the same. We're going to twist it towards me this time. Oh, would you look at that. Second and last batch of the hot sausage here, Italian sausage. Came out absolutely almost perfect. I made a couple smaller ones for more of a on the trail kind of thing and stuff. No blowouts, absolutely perfect. Wow. I just ran out of time today or else I would have finished all the sausage up. We're gonna do that in the morning, so stick around. Welcome back to day 2 of sausage making here in the RV in Central Florida. Woo! Woke up this morning, it was in the 30s. Yes, it might sound warm to some of you guys up north and stuff, but that's really cold down here in Florida. Enough of that aside, we kind of ran out of time. I had a laundry list of things that came up we had to take care of yesterday, so I wasn't able to finish the video. However, we have batch number 2 of the sausage stuffing that we're gonna do today, and that's gonna be our sweet, mild Italian sausage. Well, let's get to it. Pretty much yesterday on how to mount your casings on the stuffer. So I'm gonna take just a second to show you. You have to be patient, okay? Oil this up, all that good stuff, and you're trying to uniformly, and you have to kind of twist it a little bit. Don't force anything, you'll tear the casings, and just little at a time. And the casings are long, so this is where the patience is very, very crucial. Man, oh man, will you have a look at that? No blowouts. All a single casing. I still got a little bit left, so we're going to try to make up and process the rest of that. But we got to tie these ends off, twist them like the old style, all that good stuff, make up individual sausage links. That was a success. Have a look at that. Homemade Italian sausage links. Sweet and mild flavor. Added some maple bacon to it. No blowouts. Perfect consistency. Great looking links. Guess there's only one thing left to do. Grill one up and try one. Oh my goodness, have a look at that. We have got to tear into this. Now this is that sweet, mild Italian sausage with some kraut and some stone ground whole mustard. Let's see if it leaves a snap. Look at that. Can you see it? Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. That is a freaking hearty, tasty damn sausage. Last bite.
Oh yeah, baby.
Hey, that's all the time we got for this one. Thanks so much for hanging out and watching the nonsense. We did it. We made homemade Italian sausage links from scratch. Even came out with like little half moons like you would buy in the store, and when you bit into it, it had that snap with the casing and everything. And remember when we made the sweet, mild Italian sausage, right at the end, the last grind, we added maple bacon, which set it over the top. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Got any questions, concerns, comments, and suggestions, leave them down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Till next time, I'll see you all in the next adventure. Take care.